Hello everybody, I'm Iain, and in this video I want to talk about 1-step, 3-step and 5-step sparring again. Specifically about one of the justifications that I frequently hear for that form of practice, and I'll explain why I don't think it holds any water at all. So if you're familiar with what I've said on this topic before, you know that I'm not a fan of 1-step, 3-step or 5-step sparring. They are an historical anomaly and a martial dead end. So by historical anomaly, what I mean is, the first time we see drills like this is like the 1920s, 1930s. This is this karate trying to establish itself as a Japanese martial art alongside the likes of kendo and judo. So what they've done, the karateka at that time, is they've copied some of the practices of kendo and judo. We see that in the uniforms we wear, the fact that it's now karate-do, not karate. You can see the belt system, the ranking system, all that kind of stuff. You can see that big influence as they copy more popular martial arts. Now, within judo, those who are familiar with judo will know that there are things like the nagano kata, which are throwing practices that are used in the early stages to teach people how to throw. And in a lot of the sequences in the nagano kata, they're done in threes. It's break the balance, and then break the balance and throw. And in that context, it makes sense because knowing when to execute the throw is key. And knowing how to unbalance somebody for that throw is key. So the idea of practicing the unbalancing separately and then going into the throw makes sense. But of course, what they then do in judo, they don't go, right, we've learnt the kata, that's it. They go, right, we've got other drills we want you to do. We've got combinations we want you to practice. We've got semi-live drills we want you to do. We've got live drills we want you to do. We're going to take this into randori. So for them, that form of 3-step practice has a demonstrable progress. You see where it leads. In kendo as well, they have a similar thing. It's not uncommon in kendo practice to get distancing, to make sure that you've got your distancing right for your strikes. They'll move up and down the room, tapping each other on the heads with the shinai 5 times, like in 5-step sparring. Again, that form of practice to get used to a moving partner and used to how much you need to move in order to get the right point of contact. It makes sense for what they do. And again, they'll take that into various drills and ultimately into their live practice. The problem that karate's attempt to copy those two practices has is it does not go anywhere. The timing and distancing and flow of 1-step, 3-step and 5-step sparring is unique to 1-step, 3-step and 5-step sparring. It's a martial dead end. None of the skills you learn through doing it transfer. They don't transfer to point sparring, other forms of consensual sparring. They don't move across to self-defense. They've gotten nowhere to go. The only thing that practicing 1-step, 3-step and 5-step sparring makes you good at is 1-step, 3-step and 5-step sparring. So I do have very strong reservations about it and think we should move back to more traditional 2-person drills based on the kata. Or if you look at something like Motobu's 12 2-person drills, you don't see him retreating on any of those. What happens is, when the enemy attacks, he kind of crashes in, he takes control, he's got both hands active, the drills consider what the likely responses are to various strikes. He angles off and crashes forwards, but he never moves back, and he certainly never moves back simply to counter, with hand on the hip and all that kind of stuff. So those kind of drills we're better off doing, because then again, once we've learnt those skills, we can progress them into various forms of semi-live and live training. They go somewhere. So sometimes what we hear when people justify these historical anomalies, and to be fair, if you like them because they're interesting to do, or you like them for the history of them, that's totally legit. But if you're saying they have a useful combative skill, then you've got to demonstrate that. And I've never seen anyone able to do that yet. But what people will often say in the attempt to do that is, no, these are good because they're good for beginners. Beginners maybe not have the confidence to have people kick and punch them. And therefore, they're good for the beginners to learn confidence. Well, I completely disagree, because what they're doing there is they're creating a false choice. They're saying that the only alternatives, the only 2 ways of practice are 1-step, 3-step and 5-step sparring and full on all-out sparring. It's untrue. It is possible, as most of the martial arts do, to have drills and forms of practice that will progress into that live training. The drills, sure, you know, I mean, beginners will be happy to do them, but there's many other drills that do go somewhere that beginners will also be happy to do, that provide a better alternative. And the problem you've got with 1-step and 3-step sparring is even when they get good at them, when you go, right, that drills you've got good at, now we're going to do a live drill, which is going to have completely different timing, distancing, modes of attack, an entirely different flow, the beginners at that again, because they've never done anything like it before. So on my own grading syllabus, for every grade they do, they have a series of drills of various natures, some compliant, some semi-compliant, some live, but they're always grade appropriate. And there's a steady progression on them as they move through the grades. We don't have to waste time doing these 1-step, 3-step and 5-step drills that don't take us anywhere. So as for the argument, you know, the main point of this video that they're good for beginners, I would say that they're not. Because there are better alternatives that can go somewhere that do exist. And the problem you've got is that even when people have competence at those drills, as soon as you move on to something realistic, nothing transfers. You know, nothing transfers. So they're back feeling unconfident again because this is different. He's now attacking at different angles, at different speed, at a different distance, with a different rhythm and a different flow. Nothing moves across. So to be clear, you know, I'm not here telling you how you should practice your karate. If you like those things, great. You know, there's nothing wrong with doing them because, well, I like doing them. I like doing the drills just to get good at them. That's fine. It really is fine. I think that's a good thing. Or, you know, for whatever other reason you want to do them. But to then argue, you know, these are good for people to develop combative skills, at that point you've got to say, well, prove it. Show me the mechanism. And the best argument that people tend to come up with is they're good for beginners. They're not. They're a dead end for beginners, just like a dead end for everyone else. And there are many better alternatives that exist. So if we're looking to develop combative skill, let's get the beginners started on gentle, suitable, close-range drills. Drills with an actual flow, drills that reflect the actual nature of both consensual and non-consensual combat, and drills that will actually take them somewhere.